Denver Public Schools fires the principal who blew the whistle on untrained staff being forced to do weapons pat-downs and students charged with attempted murder put back in class. Severe weather's holding off in the metro area for now, shaping up for an all-or-nothing scenario tonight. Our next conversation with the Coloradan who just got the Supreme Court's permission to refuse to create wedding websites for gay couples.
Kyle, I have to step in and say that the comment is not even accurate.
And you know who's saving crazy money with water bills and all this rain? Local governments. Time to ask what they're doing with the extra cash. Because we're nosy like that. Because this is next. Denver Public Schools is firing the superintendent who revealed that untrained staff members had to do weapons pat-downs on students, and who pointed out that kids charged with crimes including attempted murder were put right back in class. Chris Vanderveen has this update.
I knew there was a chance. It made me sad that this was the outcome, but not surprising.
When students come back to the halls of McAuliffe next month, the only principal the middle school has ever known will not be there to welcome them.
Mad, sad, frustrated.
Kurt Dennis.
A lot of things. I'm worried.
Cannot even email his staff and parents the news.
I've been disconnected from all district communications and no longer have access to any type of communication format to speak to my community.
This week, this letter arrived in his mailbox. Terminated. Ineligible for reemployment. Why? An interview he did with us in March, an interview in which he told us DPS had forced him and his staff to perform daily pat-downs of students accused of, among other things, attempted murder.
It's not our job. We're not trained to do it. There are no guidelines or guidance on how to do it properly or do it safely or where to do it or when to do it.
Other school leaders told us off camera the same thing. They were terrified of having to perform daily pat-downs of potentially dangerous students, students like the one who shot 2 deans at East High earlier this year.
And any government employee who is coming forward raising an issue of serious public concern, which is exactly what Kurt did, has complete 100% First Amendment protection.
Denver Attorney David Lane warned DPS months ago if it moved against Dennis for talking to 9 News, he would move against the district. He'll now do that as soon as next week.
I guess they'll have their day in court, and I will personally hold the door of the courthouse open for them.
Lane says all DPS employees should consider this letter a warning.
If we can get one of the most effective principals in the system with the highest ratings fired, then you're next if you speak up against us.
Dennis told us he doesn't regret talking to 9 News. He says recently a parent told him a story that made him feel okay with his decision.
And he said, you know, my kid was at your school for 3 years, and what you taught her by speaking out is more important than anything she's learned in any of your classrooms. And that meant a lot to me. So.
Within the last hour, we received a statement from DPS. It's a bit lengthy, and we'll have the entire statement online. It does say the firing had little to do with the interview we did with him, but rather the sharing of what it calls confidential information. It's important to note that the information we broadcast was redacted and personal information was never shared. DPS says it looks forward to working with the school community to find a replacement. Kyle?
A school community that has been vocally supportive of now former principal Dennis throughout the process, including after he spoke out about safety and security concerns.
They're learning about this right now on this broadcast because this principal hasn't even had a chance to notify the community, and to say that there's going to be some upset parents in that community would be an understatement.
Chris Vanderveen, thank you.
You bet.
Denver Public Schools is sending a clear message with the firing of McAuliffe principal Kurt Dennis for talking publicly about safety and security concerns. Every potential whistleblower in that district is being told nothing can protect you if you speak up. Seniority can't protect you. Years of successful leadership can't protect you. The support of your school community can't protect you. It's a chilling message, which is exactly what is intended to be. The reason that we know Denver Public Schools is putting students charged with attempted murder back in class, the reason we know, the reason that we're talking about it, is because Kurt Dennis spoke publicly. The reason that the superintendent and some board members are having to publicly defend putting those students charged with attempted murder back in class, the reason is because Kurt Dennis spoke publicly. And the reason that some parents, voters, in November are organizing in opposition to the district's policies, that is because Kurt Dennis laid out those policies for all to see. So now DPS is starting a year-long review of its discipline process. For any Denver Public Schools employee who might dare speak out about safety and security, the termination letter may have been sent to Kurt Dennis, but the message was sent to you. So let me send another message to everyone within Denver Public Schools. We will not stop reporting on safety and security in the district, and 9 News protects the anonymity of sources who request it. If you do not feel comfortable with email, next@9news.com, you can also text 303-871-1841, or you can send an encrypted message via the Signal app to that same phone number. So the problem with potential, you can have a ton of potential and never amount to anything. Now I sound like my parents. But that is also our severe weather situation tonight, because the potential is there for some really damaging hail and winds in the metro area later on this evening. Or it could amount to nothing. So I am sorry, Mom and Dad, and hello, Chris Bianchi.
Hi, Kyle. That's exactly the situation that we're looking at here tonight. We're either talking about some really, really strong storms, or we're talking about basically nothing. And I know so far has been a whole lot of nothing. I'll say this, back on the 4th of July, it's pretty clear we were going to see some pretty strong storms across the metro area. Tonight's setup, again, I'm guessing at this point that the majority of us will probably not see a strong storm. But where we do see a storm, you're going to know about it. So right now, severe thunderstorm watch along the entire I-25 corridor. This includes the entire Denver metro area until about 10 o'clock tonight. And there is the potential for really large hail. So again, just want to reemphasize the fact that most of us have not seen anything yet, but where we do see a storm, we could end up with some pretty large hail. HD Doppler radar, again, seeing some of those showers and storms mostly across the eastern plains. I'm more concerned as we head east and south of Denver. In town, in the metro area, we're probably going to mostly get left alone here tonight, as I mentioned. But still seeing some of those storms from Fort Morgan, Byers on east. That's where we're still seeing some of those showers and some occasional rumbles of thunder. I do know here into the metro area, this is the one spot that has seen some storms this evening. Parker, the Pinery, Castle Pines on east into western parts of Elbert County. That's where we're seeing some of those storms at this point. But at this point, those are not severe thunderstorms. But we have the potential over the next few hours for some very strong thunderstorms. Now, it's mainly going to be east of Lyman, where I'm much more confident that we're going to see some stronger storms. In the metro area, most of us probably do not see a storm tonight, but where we do see a storm, as I mentioned, it could be very strong, hence the severe thunderstorm watch. Now, as we look ahead to your day tomorrow, upper 70s for us with that potential for still some more afternoon showers and some thunderstorms. And it's not until the back half of the weekend that we finally get rid of that chance for some of those showers and thunderstorms for at least a few days, but maybe by the end of next week, some more storms. In the meantime, tomorrow and Saturday, still looking at the potential for some stronger storms.
All right, Chris Bianchi. Always good to be prepared, though. That is why we sent our Marshall Zellinger out storm chasing today. Marshall, where are you?
Well, we started in Deer Trail about an hour ago. Now I'm in Aurora, and the best place to storm chase, Kyle, is in the passenger seat of a vehicle, especially when the conditions look like this and this.
All right, so not a lot going on there. Thank you, Marshall. Denver is scrapping plans to outsource its migrant response effort to a private security company. GardaWorld's best known for its armored trucks and security guards, but it was close to landing a $40 million deal in order to take care of Denver's migrants, shelter, other basic needs. City council members had some concerns about this, so it's going to get shelved until the new mayor and the new council are sworn in later this month. Mayor-elect Mike Johnson's team wouldn't say today if he's at all interested in having GardaWorld in charge of the migrant response.
I think it would be helpful if you actually read, Kyle, the Supreme Court's decision in her case.
We have read the Supreme Court decision, and we still have some questions for the Coloradan who just won the right to put free speech over anti-discrimination law. Mother Nature's been making it rain, and some cities have enjoyed the savings. They're also spending cash on storm damage. We're tracking the money next. Our next conversation tonight is with the Coloradan who just won the right to discriminate against same-sex couples by refusing to create wedding websites for gay couples. The conservative justices on the Supreme Court agreed with Lorie Smith of 303 Creative that expressive businesses have a free speech right to refuse customers' requests for creative services based on the business owner's views about gay marriage or interracial marriage or gender or any of the other protected groups under Colorado's anti-discrimination law. Smith joined me today along with her attorney, Kelly Fedoruk of Alliance Defending Freedom. Have you had the opportunity to exercise your right under that ruling to say no to a same-sex couple that is coming to you for a wedding website?
Kyle, I have to step in and say that the comment is not even accurate. The court affirmed last week that the government cannot force anyone to say something they don't agree. For the last 7 years, I have remained silenced and censored by my home state of Colorado and forced to create messages that go against the core of who I am.
Have you actually been forced to create any messages, or have you just felt like you couldn't enter the realm of creating wedding websites for fear of punishment from the state?
Kyle, I think it would be helpful if you actually read, Kyle, the Supreme Court's decision in her case that made it very clear, as did the 10th Circuit. Even when they ruled against her, they said that she was under threat of the Colorado's law.
Let's talk about how this might work in practice. Should businesses that intend to refuse expressive services to certain groups signal that to the public somehow? Should they put a sign in their window or a note on their website? Or do folks in these potentially impacted groups just have to inquire to find out whether they're eligible for the services?
You know, there have been suggestions like you are making right now about this case and about the implications of this ruling, and it's disheartening and honestly despicable. The court explicitly and repeatedly said that non-discrimination laws will continue to be enforced. No one will be denied access to goods and services, and no one will be forced by the government to say something they don't believe.
Lorie, let me ask you, do clients coming to you asking for a wedding website, do you intend to give them any kind of heads up that if they're a same-sex couple that you don't intend to serve them, or is that something they just have to find out when they call or write in?
Well, I want to create consistent with my beliefs on various topics, and I simply want to choose messages that are consistent with my faith and my beliefs. And so it's important to me that every request that I receive, I carefully consider what those messages are that I'm being asked. And no one should be forced to create a message they don't agree with.
In my full 15-minute conversation with Lorie Smith and her attorney, we also discussed recent reports that the same-sex wedding website request that was cited in her case was actually fabricated. Both said they had nothing to do with faking that request. The full conversation is on the next YouTube channel.
Well, so far it's just been the east and the south sides of the metro area that have seen storms so far today, but we're not out of the woods quite yet. Still got a severe thunderstorm watch in place for the entire Denver metro area and most of northeast Colorado. That runs until 10 p.m. tonight, and there's the potential. It is a boom or bust setup. What I mean by that is that some of us may not see a single thunderstorm, but others may get hail up to the size of an apple, as I just showed you a second ago. Still seeing some storms out here across the eastern plains. These are fizzling on out. We did have the storm out here into western Elbert County and eastern parts of Douglas County. This storm at this point appears to be, again, fizzling on out. But, and I want to reemphasize this here, folks, is that we still could see some of these stronger storms develop over the course of the next couple of hours. So again, calm for now. Just stay weather aware and make sure you have a way to get those weather warnings for the rest of the evening, especially out here on the eastern plains. That is where we have the potential for some really large hail, some damaging winds, as well as even a few tornadoes as we head through the rest of the evening. Meantime, here into the metro area, again, still the chance that we get a stronger storm or two. It's more likely that those stronger storms stay just to the east and south of the metro area. Now, as we look ahead to tomorrow, still that risk for severe storms once again for your day tomorrow and once again for your Saturday as well. But if you're looking for some drier weather, I know we're all sick and tired of this active weather. Back half of the weekend, early next week, we start to dry things out and warm things up.
Thank you, Chris. Our Marshall Zellinger continues his storm chase this afternoon. Marshall, where in the action are you?
In search of the weather, we're back in Denver near Glendale, and if you look at the conditions, dry. Denver has a little bit more sunshine.
I feel like this is a good use of resources today.
When it rains like this, it saves us approximately $30,000 a day.
The money being saved by cities when it rains like this, it often goes right back down the drain. We'll explain next. Mother Nature's doing its best Oprah for cities on the Front Range lately. You get 6 inches of rain, you get 6 inches of rain. And that generosity means that people are not using as much paid water. Denver water hasn't seen use in June this low since 1969. Your city or town is probably saving bank. Our Jennifer Meckles looked into where the savings goes.
It's a water meter. It's just a water meter just like you have on your house. And so it's just tracking how much water we're using in the park.
And maybe, like at your house, Denver Parks and Rec said June's water bill was a nice surprise.
We just got our water bill from Denver Water, and last year's bill was $590,000, and this year was $340,000. So saved us $250,000 over our entire park system.
Same in Golden.
We spent about $50,000 less in May and June than we did in the previous 3 years.
And in Littleton.
For us, it's in the tens of thousands of dollars just because of the acreage we have.
Maybe you've seen sprinklers running even in the rain. Denver Park says technology mostly helps them avoid that.
When the water meter that's on the roof hits a half an inch, it actually shuts off all the irrigation systems in this whole area to save money. So this year, that's how we've been able to save $250,000 because this is all working automatically.
But Mother Nature doesn't just give, she takes too. For all the money saved on water so far this summer, storms also cost money.
You know, in our case, we've got a couple of sinkholes out there, so we wouldn't be dealing with those without this rain.
And no matter how much water we have today, summer isn't even halfway over.
It's been pretty dry the last 2 years, and we've actually gone over budget. So what this is allowing us to do is hopefully come in closer to our target budget. And so we don't actually have to ask for a supplemental to offset because we will have to water at some point.
Denver Water also told us today that their reservoirs are looking great. Cheeseman, Dillon both reached capacity last month, and several others are also full.
And folks in Aurora were getting hit with a drought fee as recently as their last bill, but that's going to change.
Yes, the city unanimously voted to return to normal water availability, so you don't have the surcharge, but also you get one more day a week to water in Aurora.
Woohoo! Yeah,
You're into that.
Which right now would just cause a flood. All right,
Yes.
Jenny Meckles, thank you. When we return, your feedback on DPS firing a whistleblower, and one last check with our storm chaser who just can't catch one. Next. With the potential for severe weather today, we decided to send our Marshall Zellinger out storm chasing. Where are you, my friend?
Denver. This is the radar near Bennett and Deer Trail when we were chasing a couple of hours ago. We've come back to the metro area where there's nothing. You can see here. We give up, Kyle. We're going to go get gas.
You will get paid just the same, I promise you. I appreciate your efforts today. Not every day is a winner. Marshall Zellinger, 3 live reports in 1 broadcast. That is dedication. Thank you, my friend. Feedback tonight on the firing of DPS Principal Kurt Dennis, who blew the whistle on district policies around safety and security. Cindy writes in to say, thank you for the report on Principal Dennis. Keep trying to hold DPS accountable for these ridiculous decisions. If nothing else, Cindy, we want this stuff out in the open so we can have a conversation about these policies. If somebody's mad that they have to defend a policy that they have, that should tell you something. Along those same lines, this feedback via text, Kyle, keep up the good work. You are there to do a job and not to make friends. Certainly didn't make friends with Fred, who wrote in to say Kyle's a cheerleader for the government, doesn't even know that's not journalism. Bring legal duels back. Fred, if you're thirsting for a way to legally shoot a news anchor you don't like, it's time to change the channel, man. Life's too short. Go out and chase some non-existent storms like Marshall did. Touch grass, baby. Get some fresh air. See you next time.